Aloha, aloha, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Oh, it's Wednesday, middle of the week, day before Veterans Day.
Hmm.
Hope everybody having a nice evening. Hope everybody have planning a good day tomorrow. For those of you that have the day off, for those of you that got to work, sorry. To all our veterans out there, mahalo for your service.
Hmm.
We'll be honoring you all day tomorrow. So, with that, Charles, tonight we got Dr. Miscovich on, uh, talking about COVID, talking about what's up and coming, what's how's the vaccinations going with the kids, and whatever else, wherever the discussion takes us. Last night was kind of. I'm gonna settle back tonight. I'm gonna relax. I still have my coffee, but I'm gonna be. I promise you, I'm gonna be mellow. I'm not gonna swear tonight. Uh, I drained me last night, Charlie. I was exhausted after last night's show, and it carried over till today. And I still frustrated with a lot of things, but you know, tonight will be a better night. I promise you.
Well,
I promise you,
we
man.
all, we're at a time that we just gotta take things in stride. Worry about the ones you love. Worry about yourself. Make sure that you don't fall into the lion's den. Nobody cannot say that we never try to get the word out. And if people still get sick after that, then that's it. It's always gonna get, always gonna get that. I see it in some of the comments too, but you know, not worth attacking these people. They're always gonna find just like on slippery eel. You know what I mean? They're always gonna find a little gap to go through. If you pound on them hard enough, they slip through another gap.
Yeah, I like them know we're watching. I like them know that they might think that they're all slick and but they got to realize that the people are watching. And I saw a good friend Kiala post today a civil beat article about the lieutenant governor and the governor both out of state at the same time, leaving the attorney general Claire Connors as the acting governor. Uh, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and number one and number two leaves the state. Uh, Josh Green said he had committed to a keynote back in 2020 on the mainland, so he went and go visited his family, and then had a few fundraising events. I guess my problem is that it was done at the same time the governor is out of the country, so we don't have the governor, and we don't have a lieutenant governor right now in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of at a point where we're looking at Kaiser Hospital possibly striking. You see the concern on the EMS people on TV, the bosses, the leaders of EMS system in the state are concerned. In fact, they already started rerouting past patients to Kaiser facilities because they don't know if, in fact, this strike goes on, there's going to be an issue. So all of this is going on. We got the international travel is opened up. We got lessen restrictions. We got better lessen restrictions on Oahu. We got people still dying. We got cases climbing. Kauai is climbing. It's again,
Mhm.
now it's not the time for any travel. If you ask me, if you're a government leader, now is not the time to travel. You need to be home. You need to be home. So I was kind of
Yep.
surprised at that. Hey, death in a family. Some personal emergencies. That's one thing. And I'm talking about government leaders, guys. So for fundraising trips, I think that can wait. I really think that can wait, or do it virtually. But to leave the fifth floor wide open and have the attorney general assume the last emergency declaration for Maui's flood or drought that the governor declared was signed by the attorney general because there was no governor and there was no lieutenant governor. Is that leadership? Really? Is that leadership? I would say not. I would say not. But anyway,
No,
it's just frustrating, Charlie. It's just frustrating. Not to mention the traffic on Kauai because these guys decide to go cut grass on the side of the road and block one lane of traffic with no alternate route. 2 hours, 3 hours one way to get to Kalaheo. Come on. I mean, we just have the worst planning, the worst leadership. I'm just going to say it, the worst leadership. The state is, and then the people all piss off, so they all make the phone calls and then they cancel them. They're, okay, okay, we're not going to do them now. We're not going. Hang on, we're going to do them in January. Yeah.
you
See on
know,
Kauai, for those of you that don't foot.
if you do it
Go ahead.
right, if you do it right, then you just have to go into a maintenance program.
Yeah.
If you don't do it right, then you wonder why. You the bust sweat, you know, you get perspiration going down the backside between the two cheeks, and you're all peed off because you stayed in outside. Hey, tell your boss, you know, like how they tell you, hey, if you do something, do little, little, but do it right, right? Chop it down, chop it down. But no, these guys go, we caught them one time thinking, nah, not gonna go back that fast. Little did they know.
It's out of control. And I was stuck in the traffic on Monday, and they were using weed eaters, Charlie. Weed
Huh?
eaters. Where the yeah, weed eaters. In the old days we were spraying herbicide, right? And then
Tree huggers.
all the
Yeah.
environmentalists said, "Oh no, 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 we can't have that." Well, you know that there's some organic herbicides out there. There's some environmentally safe herbicides. This is the thing. If we know we're going to do it, remember we got only 2 lanes, so you got to think about emergency vehicles. You got to think about if someone needs emergency help, emergency attention. You would think, and talk about this for decades now about this alternate routes, utilizing cane roads in emergency purposes, and no one wants to touch that, and then people get stuck in traffic, and then people get upset, and then they call the DOT, and the DOT, now they just kick the can down the road. Oh, okay, we're going to stop because our secretaries was upset that you guys was calling all day long. We're just going to move them to later, and that's not solving the problem. It's not solving the problem. And for those of you that don't live on Kauai, you got to understand, because a lot of people say, why you guys don't do the work at night? Because on Kauai, the environmentalists, all the bird loving people, we have the shearwater. We have the new shearwater here on the island, and they're protected. So until December 15th, it's their fledgling season. So we cannot turn on lights at night on Kauai. So we cannot do any road work at night. So it's just
You
a
like hear you
mess.
like
It's a
you like hear
mess.
something, and please forgive me, but this is not top secret. It's to help the shield waters. So as you know, any place that has lights, for some reason, the shearwater only flies over Kauai. It
Yeah.
doesn't fly over Honolulu. Therefore, they don't need participate with the program. Only
Yeah.
Kauai, and the birds
It's
know when they go
incredible.
fly only
They
Kauai.
know. That's
Yeah,
like how the virus know the difference
yeah,
between one visitor and
exactly.
one returning resident. Same
So,
same
so this
theory.
is what they do. I hit guys go out, they check because hey, we gotta do our part, right? You find one down water, you gotta do the SOS, wrap the bird up, put them in his box, take them to one of those things at the fire department. You know what I mean? Make sure or call someone from forestry or wildlife. At least do our part. But did you know the state hired like on a third party vendor just to keep track of whether we doing the right, whether we checking or not? They put decoy birds out there to make sure we find them because they don't trust what we said that we went check, we never find nothing. They get these decoy birds. And I said, hey, what an ingenious idea. But you know what? Are they checking on us to make sure that we check in to see if get birds? And if you take the decoy and you turn them over, get instructions who for call and what for say and what number this bird and what area. So I don't mind doing that. But as a security boss, my primary job is number one. Safety of the traveler, regardless if you want tourist or resident. Your safety, one. Two, combat terrorism. Make sure the airport is safe. And I'm sorry to say this, yeah, the birds are important. But right now, I get bigger fish to fry with bad guys trying to get inside the airport. Okay? I sorry, that's just me. Now, if anybody out there think I'm way off base, let me know. Just let me know. But I think right now, bad guys cannot be in airports because bad guys do bad things to airplanes. And that's what we watch for. It's not one bird. And I'm not saying that the bird is not important. It's just that we got to prioritize what comes first, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, there is Dr. Scotty Miscovich, the one and only. Um, he's an expert in dealing with COVID. He's also I envy this guy. He's the only guy I know that can beat a migraine to death, and he helps himself. But he's
I
not
got
afraid
back
to
on
tell
my
you.
meds. I was stupid. I was like, I feel like, I'm doing so good. I got back on my meds and the headaches are practically gone. But hey, can you eventually take a picture of one of those decoy birds? I want to see what they look like, right?
I will send it to you. I will send it.
Please send it to me. I want to see a picture and actually name it if you could. Put a name on it. So, it's that would be good.
Yeah, but the
Especially,
thing is, the
on
thing,
the bottom, Charlie, on the
yeah,
bottom where the phone number stay for call. On the bottom, I like to see the picture where it says "Made in China."
no, but the danger of these decoy birds, there is a warning. If you indulge in a beverage or two at night, please, please do not get caught talking to a bird because the bird will not answer you.
Those are the birds you talking. It says for a good time call. So
Oh boy. So what's up, Doc? What's up,
hey,
man?
how's it
How's it
going?
hanging, buddy? How's it
Yeah.
hanging?
Oh man,
We're
I
we're just sharing a little bit about watching the news. I mean, of course, we got the headlines with the couple that just got arrested, but the Kaiser strike is a little concerning right now, and I'm sure you got a little bit info on that. And kind of wanted to chat a little bit about how the KQ vaccines are going. Caseloads, of course, still, it's like I always say on Monday, Tuesdays, they all pat each other on the back because they did so well because we're in double digits, but we're not counting all the cases. And then Wednesday comes and oh, here we go back to triple digits, double digit deaths.
yeah.
So I'm kind of get your perspective, Doc, being someone that's on the front line and have seen everything happening from day one. What's your thoughts, man?
Well, I'll throw a few highlights out to get everybody stimulated, to get all the viewers stimulated. Number one of the biggest things I'm having a problem with right now is the death rate. It's incongruent, right? And if you look at the number of hospitalizations which were getting reported, and then you combine that you're getting 6 deaths, 8 deaths, 10 deaths, then you go 0, 0. It doesn't make sense. You would, it's just, again, it sounds like there's some big lag at the coroner's office or somewhere. But that's concerning. A loss of life is concerning to me. And I would like a much better definition of why so many of our citizens are losing their lives, even if our case counts are so far down, right? So that's something I think we all deserve to know. And so that's huge. That's huge. A couple other concerning points to me right now are, how few tests we have going on, so that, we see our positivity rate. If you look at the amazing work that George does and keeps them going, keeps our numbers up on a, kind of real-time basis, our positivity numbers are creeping up, right? Because we have so few tests done and we have the positivity. I mean, the Big Island, it's never been under control. It's never been under control. When you look at the percentages of positives on the Big Island, it's, Where's the amazing Harry Kim when we need him? Because it's just you know no leadership over there to even address what's going on. And the Kiki vaccines, I'm all over understanding what's going on, and it's going fine. It's a good rollout. It's okay. But what we have now is it's the typical beginning of the vaccination process where all of the parents that are waiting, all the people probably higher socioeconomic or are going to be rushing in. We need to be looking now. We need to be looking long term. We need to be looking at those less fortunate, finding a way to get the vaccines to everybody and to every community. So that's another thing I would say that concerns me. But I'll stop at that and let you guys talk a little bit.
Yeah, I one of the things that popped up today was the report that was showing concerning decrease in the effectiveness of the vaccines. J&J I saw was down to like 13% after 6 to 8 months, and the same with the other two. Have you heard or have you seen any of the studies that are showing that and that making the boosters even more important? And if so, is this booster going to have to be something that we'll be doing every 6 months?
I just got my clip from CNN from last night. I just posted it. I had a really good clip with Anna Corin, who's a great reporter, an anchor, and we talked about it. That was a big part of what we talked about. And here's the problem right now. All of those studies are very, very well done and very solid. After 6 months, we're seeing, various decreases, but the best I can say is it's at least 50% or less, right? And J&J, yes, it's declining also, right? No doubt. And I know the study you're talking about, but there are, depending on which one you're looking at, I think it's just fair to say, to put a global number to it, we're finding that after 6 months of vaccination, it's down to 50%. Now, you still will have a tremendous protection with the longer term immune cells that are present to protect you from dying. Okay, that's really, really important. It's not 100%. As that immunity wanes, if you are someone that has risk factors, you could be filling up one of those ICU beds. You could be less fortunate. But yes, let's just generally say that everything is concurring at 50% or more. And as time goes on, it's even lower depending on what study you look at. And the reason I'm hedging on it a little bit, Mel, is everybody's different, right? Depends on your immune status. Like right now, if you're a transplant patient or if you're immunosuppressed, good luck. I mean, you really, they're already into the fourth vaccination and still many of them don't have much immunity at all. So that just shows where we are in the science, early on in the science. And it's early. What I want to say to the viewers and say to the naysayers, this pandemic, unlike we've ever seen, in modern times on the planet, and probably almost as far back as we can see for this type of coronavirus. And the development of the vaccines has been a true blessing and a miracle. It is the key to getting us through this right now. And you guys have heard me say this on this show over and over again. I know I've said this a year ago before we were even starting about it. We were predicting that you were going to need one. It was going to be your flu shot and your coronavirus shot, right? It was going to be almost annually. And why could I say that? Why was I saying that then? And part of what it bugs me is there's so much history out there and there's so much science and so much education that has already been developed when it comes to understanding the general coronaviruses, which have been around for a long time. And there have been attempts to make immunizations, and it's not easy. It's not easy. And so therefore, we will likely have, again, let me bring something up right now, and I would hope that Libby will jump into this and our state will jump into this. As you guys know, I've got teams all over the country with a big presence in some areas that are surging now. New Mexico and Arizona especially, we're all over. And then we're up in Washington State, we're up to 18 to 20 states at this point. Well, right now, in the last 2 days, I've been on with the Departments of Health, and they just came out with the authority that anybody over 18 can get a booster. Don't need to have any special conditions. And what they did is they took the CDC guidelines and they took what the FDA approvals are of the vaccine. And there was very loose wording in the who is defined to be able to get the virus or to get the booster, and it would be others at risk, and it has some general language that talks about the risk. Well, they have taken that language, and again, I know these people because I'm talking with them, dealing with them. I've been there and been in their offices, and they've interpreted that now that they have increases in their positivity rate, everybody's at risk. So they are now offering boosters to everyone, and states that are having surges are offering boosters to everyone. So if there's something that I would like to see our state begin to do right now, open up boosters. Everybody over 18 right now, we don't need any new guidelines. We don't need any more data. We don't need to go back and ask for anything. There's enough data. Colorado last night, about 28 hours ago, came out with their Secretary of Health, and basically same thing. Not only opened it up to everybody over 18, because Colorado is in crisis healthcare right now, opened it up to everybody over 18, but basically is encouraging people to get it. So if there's any take home that I'm going to want to get people to have at the end of tonight is everybody needs a booster, okay? If you've already been vaccinated, great. You know, that's great. You've really reduced your chance of death. You've reduced your chance of hospitalization. But what is in your system starting to fade a little bit. Get a booster, okay? And the best study came out of Israel, which is amazing. They took 120,000 people. They took 60,000 in one group plus that had 2 shots. And then they took another 60,000 that had 3 shots, because remember, they've been giving everybody boosters for a while. Israel's way ahead of everybody. And then what they did is when they took the 60,000 in each group, they matched them. They tried to have so many in the certain older age groups that had diabetes, and so many that were overweight, and then so many were female, and so many were different ethnicities, and they went the whole ways down. And that's the way a well-done study is done. So you have apples to apples. And what they found was 93% chance, the third shot, 93% more immunity than those with just 2 shots. So they had 93% reduction of new infection, 92% chances of reduction of hospitalization. I think it was 84% reduction of death. So that is the one that we're all looking at and saying black and white, because there's a lot of other anecdotal studies coming. Now, and the other important thing with that one is it was done in the era of Delta. It was done with Delta, because there are a lot of studies that have come out, and some of those studies, when you start looking at the data when it comes to the immunity and the waning immunity, if you're a person who will dive in to read the studies, look at when they were done, and look at if they were done pre-Delta or during Delta, because that will change our dynamics in the way we look at it a little bit. So again, let me stop, because I could babble and babble and babble, and I'm trying to just keep it real. You guys know I could spew numbers and data and studies and outcomes, but I want just to hit the salient points to put it in a way that everybody understands. and then take the questions, as you guys know, and then have them be able to tell family and friends. But just get used to a booster, man. Get it?
Hey, Doc,
Okay.
why is there, you see these dangers happening elsewhere in the US and abroad. Why is Hawaii so dumb-bellish? As if there are no spotters to recognize these dangers or advise uh, the administration of, because we have so much influx now of travelers, and they're probably coming from these areas. Why do
Yeah.
you think there's nobody that's actually spotting this to put it in such a way to make a case or an argument to the administration to say, hey, because don't you think we run a larger risk being so isolated with limited amounts of everything that we have to actually have this state run? Because we are at the we're at the mercy of shipping lines, right? Everything has to be shipped in. It's
Yep.
not like we can drive across to the next island. So why do you think we don't have anybody spotting the dangers? I mean, you're calling it out, so that's one thing. But it's just like somebody at the top is either turn, you know, turn off the hearing aids. We don't want to hear it, or I mean, I don't get it.
Okay. Let me throw this out. Like yesterday, Chris Concilia, who was with the Star Advertiser, called me, and basically we came up with a piece because I think she had seen some of my CNN time, and she almost had the exact same question that you had, Charlie, and KITV ran it. I think it's still up on their front page of their website, which basically talked, I said some of the things I'm talking about and some of the things I've been, again, I'm really getting pinged on CNN a lot. And a lot of it is the international talking about exactly what we're talking about, looking at what's moving across the globe and looking at the trend. And actually, I just posted last night CNN on my website, and they asked that exact question. We'll get to that in a second. But she then, this is the key, Charlie, she had me, and then she went to Libby. And she sat there, and Libby pointed at her computer, and Libby said almost verbatim, yes, we have to really watch out for this. The surges in Europe are important. And again, I've said this to you guys before. I think Libby's a really solid person. She took this job after a solid career of service and working. I also like Sarah Kimball down there, who are the real two lead people. And I know everybody else is working hard. But when I saw Libby say, oh, I'm worried about this, I was like, okay, well, then why isn't anybody above you listening to you, right? So I think, you're hitting the nail on the head. I think we do have intelligent people that have good, solid information, but basically, I don't think they get audiences, and I don't think those decisions are made. I said this before. I would love to see the briefing that is given to the governor every single day and basically predicts where we are, what the trends are, what the risks are, what the warnings are. Think about it. Isn't that what should be happening if you're the chief executive of a state where you have all these lives and you're still having 6 to 10 to 12 people dying? Shouldn't you be getting a briefing, since you're not a medical person, you're an engineer, that is basically saying, here's where we are, here's your status, what's going on, this is what we recommend, and you should have like 6 or 8 of the 10 people that are all brilliant in what they know what they know medically and epidemiologically and infectious, etc. And then that's what a leader does, takes all these bright people around you, and you make an informed decision. Do you think that's happening? I just can't even dream that that's happening right now. And I would ask our good Senator Ron and our House to say, show us this. Where is this? Where is this? Because if it's not happening, it should happen, right? And it should be happening, and we all should be made aware of how those decisions are being made. But do you know what's probably happening? It's all the finance people. It's tourism. It's all. They're the ones that get the voice in this. Because guys, right now, we've talked about it. I go on international television and talk about it, and it all comes true. And I'm not just like brilliant, and I don't. I do have a crystal ball, so I do have this crystal ball tells me what to do. But basically, no, the data is out there, and the predictions and the defense that you have to put up, it's all out there, right? And so we shouldn't be sitting here in February going, oh, geez, we need to order some more morgue trucks, right? That's too late. So,
Well, just to close off on that question, though, is, and you just mentioned it a little while ago, that you've been finding out information that's like the total package. Okay, so I kind of compare it to like a surfer. You have the best of the best, but without the person who makes the board to allow that talent that stands on the board to do what they do, it's nothing. So we are now in this phase where we can see a lot of these bad things happening, but as long as the people at the top, I mean, I Libby has been in this position before when she got creamed by the COVID committee when they told her, "Hey, you get power to say something, say it, damn it."
yeah,
We were on an emergency, just say it. But I don't know if, I mean, she doesn't look like the personality to be like a Mel Raposo, stand up and pound the table to get your message across. But she has to. She holds that title, right?
yeah,
So I'm looking at like you're a voice to be reckoned with, but there's only so much you can do yourself. I think, and Mel and I, we're just putting the message out there so everybody knows we're keeping it alive. But you got that Dr. Kimball. That's another voice. If they just keep on pounding it, I think they can get something across to the many, because we're just waiting for something bad to happen. We're not being proactive enough to make sure nothing bad happens. There's a difference. Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree, guys, and I remember so well that hearing that occurred when they told her, they said, like, you can do that as director of the Department of Health. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I think it's really clear that there is a probably the loudest voice, and you guys tell me, and we'll see what the viewers think. I think the loudest voice in our state right now, that's in that leadership position, is Rick Blangiardi, coming from that level. I mean, Josh has his same regular thing that he does all the time, and he does his same thing all the time. But I'm talking about between the mayors and the governor, Blangiardi just is like, it's like, I'd say this because I say this, and we know basically he has no medical. He says a million times, I'm not a doctor and I don't have anything, and we know he's not getting any medical advice, and he just overshadows Ige in a second. So, and then when you look at Mayor Victorino, nice guy, your mayor he's going. I mean, he is going totally silent. I don't know, right? He's gone way silent. In the beginning, he was a voice that we all turned to. I know, but he's gone silent. And I don't even want to talk Big Island, because that's just like the Twilight Zone over there right now. So, but it's all about leadership, and one of the things that I would also say to you guys, and maybe say if we have some of our legislators listening, is like, how much longer are we going to let the governor have emergency powers, right?
Mhm.
How
Yeah,
much
we,
longer?
we had that discussion last night. It got pretty heated, but yeah, I did want to go back to what you mentioned about Libby, because we all saw that Senate committee hearing, and it's she not only has the authority, she has the duty and obligation as the director of health. She has the obligation as it relates to quarantining and so forth. She has chosen not to utilize her power. In fact, the Attorney General, Claire Connors, who's going to be the U.S. Attorney, wasn't even aware, and 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 she said she had to go talk to the Attorney General to verify her powers. No, she should have known that. She should know that, and if she didn't, after that hearing, she did. So all of this that's going on, I mentioned this last night. All of these people, all of these leaders, so-called leaders, whether they're at the executive branch, legislative branch, whether they're at the state or the county, by their silence, they condone what's happening. They condone. They're okay with it. They're okay with what's happening, and I think that is where uh, we'll see some problems. And I wish Libby Char would stand up and said, "I'm sorry, I cannot." Even if she chooses not to exercise her authority, at least come out and speak out against what the governor and the lieutenant governor and these other people are doing in the name of health and safety and public health. But she doesn't. I saw that broadcast last night on KITV. She said exactly what you said. She said exactly what you said. I mean, she followed you, and it was the same message. But she's in a position of power, and you're not. So she should be the one leading the charge to make sure that we do what we need to do to save lives. And 6, 8, 10, 12 people that die every day is too much. It's just too many. It's too many.
That goes back to what I said at the beginning. Is there, and this is where I wish our legislators would stand up, is Libby actually with her team and Sarah putting together briefings and putting together briefings that are given verbally and or on a written basis and giving them to the governor or to the executive branch, and is standing up saying these things? Because if you go back and dissect that hearing, that was the really important hearing, she basically did say, yes, I've told them. Yes, I've told them. And she said it again and again and again, that she stood up and, she's given her voice. But then they didn't do anything about it, right? So I still can't push the blame on the Department of Health at this point. It solidly sits in the governor's office right now. It has to solidly sit there. And again, I would say after that hearing, did we get the legislature ever standing back up and saying, hey, hell, if I was sitting at the legislature and I had that hearing, I would be calling them back every single week and saying, I want an update. Damn it, I want to know right now what's going on. How are we resolving this? I want reports. I want the Senate Health Committee or the COVID Committee to get updated reports weekly. We're in a crisis. So, I'm going to push that's what I would be looking at. And then we go on into these lulls, and all we get is like little frilly window dressing data that partway through, guess what? It got turned back and we got less of it. And it was less frequent, less accurate. Who made that decision? Is that what we deserve?
We deserve a whole lot more. Hey, Doc, I want to get through a bunch of our questions because they've been pouring in. Real simple. This one has been answered before, but for the benefit of those that weren't here, J&J booster.
Yes.
I know the answer. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, if your granddaughter got a J&J 6 months, every single person who had a J&J is eligible if you choose to get a second J&J. Okay, you are eligible to get a booster after 6 months. You are also eligible for mix and match, meaning that, I think I said this before, go get a Moderna. If you had J&J, if I had one choice, I'd say get a Moderna. But you, having had one J&J, please get a booster. Take whatever they give you, another J&J, a Moderna, or a Pfizer, any of them. Just get another shot because your immunity now is waning.
And on the Moderna, they'll allow you to get the Moderna booster. And I'm not sure about the J&J, but on the Moderna, after 2 months, you get to take the Moderna booster. So
Yep.
go get it.
Yep.
Are we continuing to improve and make new vaccines, Doc?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah. I mean, the vaccine, what's going on in the world of the vaccines? I mean, you just still have new companies coming out with new vaccines. We still have at least 6 major types of vaccines that have been produced and remember going all over the world. But if you look at what we're using here, we have the mRNA, which is Pfizer, Moderna, and then we have the DNA virus, which is our J&J. And they are all continuing to make to continue to try to do advances, and they are taking the data from Delta and trying to see if they can make it more effective. It's still very effective. I could go way into the science, but the bottom line right now, the amount of time, effort, and money that's going into this is massive. It is massive. And some of the things that are kind of exciting is they're looking at, right now, remember, to be simple, we got the big ball and then the spikes coming off of it. The spikes are where our antibodies are grabbing onto and chewing off the spikes so that they can't stick and suck onto you. Well, they're developing different types of antibodies that can hit different levels of the spike. Let me see if I can try to make it simple for everybody. So if you take the spike and then you take the spike off of the ball, right? There's a bunch of different mRNA structures in here, and if you go way down to the bottom, there's some really key ones in there that it doesn't matter how many of these change, that if you target a couple of these where it's stronger, and there's variations or variants that occur up in here, you're going to be able to kick this thing's butt no matter what the variants are doing. So that's kind of an overview of what they're trying to do, is trying to produce vaccination that will withstand different types of variants based off of knowing and understanding more as we know about the structure, right? So general overview, but it's great science. Now, let me throw a basic in there. Why? Well, one, hopefully there's a lot of people who really care about humanity, but it's the money. Whoever can come up with those great vaccines are, going to sell them all over the world. So capitalism is alive and well, and they're all going to keep wrestling to get the best and most successful and safest too. Okay.
Hey, Doc, regarding what you just explained about how this process works, right? Attacking the spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any makers coming out with something that might say, you know what? Yeah, the spike is what adheres to inside. But what if we just blow the smithereens out of this thing from spikes and the big part of it all at once? Is somebody coming out with something like that, or it's just
yes, they are studying that. They are studying that, but it's just like to go in. I'll use the Star Wars analogy. To go in and blow up the mothership takes a lot more than to just get a spike. So the protein matrix structure inside there is it's a little harder to go in and destroy that. But yeah, I mean, maybe we get Han Solo. We get we have to get Yoda back on and ask him for some advice. Two Modernas, one Moderna, also autoimmune. Which booster should I consider getting? Renee, I think that you should be talking, to your whoever your specialist is to understand your autoimmune disease. But you do have the right vaccine, and I think it's probably if you were my patient right now, I'd have to look at your records, but I would be pretty interested to see what J&J does to you. It's certainly not going to hurt to get your fourth Moderna, right? But to mix it up with J&J may be an option because we are seeing mix and match. But I would have to have a very specific question about your specific disease and then look at some of the data, because in the immunocompromised world, since in the United States 2% of our population qualifies as immunocompromised, there are different smaller level trials that are going on. For example, the biggest ones that are going on right now are dealing with the transplant patients, because they're on, all the immunosuppressants. And then you have different groups of people that are taking medications that are specific to their rheumatoid arthritis or et cetera. And then certain people on steroids. Well, each one, as we get further along, may have a little bit of a advantage for one group versus the other. So that's why I would ask. Yep. Opinions on Novavax. Hey, if you look at the data on Novavax, it's not my first choice. It's been approved. It's being approved to go worldwide. It's coming out of WHO funding and a lot of other private funding. But if you look at the data on it, it's kind of a little bit sad because we're giving the third world and the poorer countries probably one of the least effective vaccines out there. So it goes along the theory of any shot is great, but you guys have known my hopefully my life and career has always been standing up for the less fortunate, and I don't think there should be any compromise for the people that are less fortunate. And if we're talking Novavax, we're already committed that they're going to need multiple shots if you're giving one that's already not that effective. So,
Hey, Doc, another question regarding these mandates. Like the president came out with 100 or more employees of a company,
yep.
right? Are there any studies being done right now to determine that if we just left it alone, there'll be more people voluntarily taking the shots than trying to get it forced upon them? Is there anything being done to see?
Oh man. I don't think there's a study, but I would refer you to one because God, I'm telling you, man, I got to do so much to prepare for my CNN time. There's a great study that's out there on the Kaiser Foundation, and that's a pretty good neutral, nonprofit. And I just called through that, and oh my God, it is just so freaking crazy. And what do you see in the United States? I mean, it's red and it's blue. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to think that it's crazy and that it's and I've said this again and again in all my interviews, COVID's not political. I don't care what your political bias is or what your race is, your income level. Come on, man. This is everybody deserves the same. And then, oh God, I don't even want to get into it because this study I was reading, it then breaks it down and it takes what is your news source? And then it breaks down, there are 8 common myths and biases against vaccines. And depending on what your primary news source is, and they list about 10 news sources from some of them I don't even know. I don't watch Newsmax. And it goes down through all the main channels and the CNNs and the ABCs and of course Fox and these other ones. And of course, the more you're listening to those people are accepting 4 or more of those misconceptions, and they accept them as fact. So, the bias that is coming out of the media based on what your beliefs are crazy. And if we go over to Europe, and I've been living with my time internationally to do analytics on that and reach to my colleagues there. Number one factor in Eastern Europe is lack of trust in their government. They do not trust their government. That's why they don't get the vaccine their government's offering them.
Okay.
How do you overcome that, man? and that's the same thing. That same thing that's happening in the South and across these different pockets in the country, right?
I think it all starts with being transparent and honest with the people. That's where it starts. Doc, what is your feeling about the use of TOCI? Not sure what that is. I have a friend who was turned on her stomach given 6 to 8 hours left. Approval obtained by her family to administer TOCI. Walked out of intensive care in 6 hours. Don't know what that is.
TOCI.
Tucci. Sounds like it's some kind of treatment.
Okay. That's that is a okay. It's kind of like an antiviral medication. It does have some approval for treating severe pneumonia and antiviral. It's a target. It's one of the arrows in the quiver. It has enough approval. It's not broad like we're using monoclonal antibodies. It can be very specific in a very specific finding. So I would say that it has approval. It has some uses. It's certainly not ivermectin, and it's one of the arrows. So it would be hard for me to really totally comment without knowing the full history, what happened, what happened as an outpatient, what did they get, what didn't they get, are they asthmatic, but yeah, it's one of those ones that can be used.
Yeah, and apparently it worked for this person. All right. This is an interesting one. Scientists have evidence that SARS-CoV-2 spreads explosively in white-tailed deer and that the virus is widespread in this deer population across the U.S. Let me finish because it's too big to... Hold on. Researchers say the findings are quite concerning and could have vast implications for the long-term course of the global pandemic. If that is true, I would assume it is, if it's widespread. I have not heard that. I think he said earlier in the post that he saw it on NPR.
No clue. Yeah, no clue, man.
I'm going to go look into that tonight. Thanks for the question, though. I appreciate that.
I guess what they need to do is it in those freaking Axis deer that are taking over Maui?
Well, I hope not in Axis, man. That would not be good. Yeah. That would not be good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How do I know if I still have good stuff in me? I see a doctor on Friday. I want to get that checked. I know we talked about tests that could check your antibody level. Not sure if that is available to everybody, but how do you really check?
I was really, really, really vocal on this for quite a while, and actually this is when Sanjay Gupta's team reached out to me, and they were, pinging me because I was basically pushing to say, listen, we either need to start to have a commercially viable, available, and affordable test to check antibody levels, or we need to start boosting the over 65s. I was saying that 6 months ago. And so here is the answer to that. The answer is get a booster, okay? You don't know for sure the reliability because there's about 5 different types of immune cells that you can have, and the commercially available spike antibody test is good, because if it was 0, I'd say, boy, you need to go out and get it. But the bottom line is right now we have more than enough data on the safety of the vaccine. The boosters are available practically now for everybody, and they should be. Just get your booster and then just follow along. To be technical, there are tests that are done that are really highly intensive and expensive, and they're doing on the research level that check a lot of those different levels of immune cells that are available. And but you're not going to be able to get those reliably at this stage. And at this stage, again, the spike antibody is nice, but don't rely on, just get your booster.
So Doc, um, it appears that boosters will be something we're going to have to live with. We know, we hear about the Merck pill, we hear about all these different treatments that are being developed as we speak. So hopefully at some point, COVID is not as big a threat. But as things continue now, it appears that we more than likely will have to get boosted every year or every 6 months
Um,
until we can get a handle on this virus worldwide, right? Because I think that's the key. As long as we don't have the worldwide control of this virus, then we're going to always have it. It'll always be here.
yeah, and that was my CNN piece last night, which I just posted on Facebook, and the same thing. Until we get, remember, half the population of the world has not had a shot, and then now we're getting them this half-baked Novavax out there, and so the bottom line is, until we can get adequate immunity throughout the population, no, I mean, I said it on my KITV piece. Just get used to it. You're going to get a shot every year, likely. Just kind of be used to getting a shot every year. And when you get that, you get that third shot, guess what? Your chances of dying is like infinitesimal, right? And then you add on monoclonal. If you, get some symptomatology, and the monoclonal should be easily accessible. I have it in my urgent cares right now, and if anybody's high risk and they're positive, boom, we give them monoclonal right on the spot. And then you're going to get the Merck. And actually, by the way, the Pfizer pill, I think, is going to just kick Merck's butt. The Pfizer pill, the data on it is way better. And it's up into the 90% efficacy. So then that's the next thing will happen. If that becomes broadly available, just be like the flu, oh, hey, you're positive for COVID. Here, take this pill. 90% chance it's going to go away. You won't be hospitalized. Like we've been using Tamiflu medically, and other, meds for influenza forever. Or someone gets the flu and you put the prescription in for Tamiflu, and they don't get as sick, right?
Mm-hmm. Just real quick, I'm going to wrap up some of the I know we talked about this a little earlier. Doc, did you say that now the boosters?
Now, yes, Dolly, you get out there tomorrow. You get there tomorrow and you get your shot. Yes, now.
Yeah, you can go. You can go tonight if you're close to enough to a Walmart or a CVS. They give those things all night long.
Yeah, really. Okay, here's my advice to everybody listening. All right, if you're really ready to get your booster, go and just ask for your booster. Okay, fill out your form, ask for your booster. Don't lie, but remember that right now, from what I'm being told in the field, no one's being turned away. No one's being turned away. You fill out the form, and again, I always stand for being ethical and telling the truth. But remember, the single one that there's so many different risk factors that are out there. The single one in that group, which is now being used by all of these different states, and I'm telling you, this is right from the leadership. Just so everybody understands, I am taking what I'm taking from that department, and I'm informing my teams all over the country based on the states that we were in. Give the booster to everybody because that just came down from your departments of health. So the edicts now are pretty straightforward if you look at the language. First of all, the easy one is obesity. Obesity defined by what CDC said is a BMI, body mass index, over 25. That's like freaking a low bar, so almost anybody qualifies for that. But then the other one is, are you in any kind of risk group? Well, if you're in a position where you're out and about and you could be exposed to people that have COVID, whatever, even though you should be wearing your mask, you're in a risk group. Get vaccinated, get boosted.
We got time for a couple more. I'm not sure, Alyssa, I'm not sure if she was on for the whole show, but She says, "Sounds like autoimmune more than every 6 months. Why no answers?" I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I think that autoimmune, that's probably a very reasonable basis. The reason I can't give a specific is it depends on which class of autoimmune you are in, um, and what's creating your lower immune system. But I mean, I would, if I'm sitting here and I'm autoimmune, I'm working closely with my doctor, and I like the idea of every 6 months moving forward, but you should have probably already had 3 shots way before we even came out with the booster. You should be on your 4th shot now, and you should probably already have a target of when you might even need a 5th shot. So, but 6 months is probably about a correct answer.
All right, and the very last question. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? And guys, there's so many questions. I'm trying to find questions that are broad enough that everyone will benefit from, as opposed to those specific. And I just saw it here. Here we go. And I asked the questions that I want to know the answer to. Can a positive person receive the monoclonal plus the pill? If I'm assuming when the pill is available, readily available. I know
Wow.
monoclonal treatments are solid. And my a good friend of mine just tested positive, vaccinated, tested positive, and was sick. Doctor sent him last night. Had his infusion, monoclonal, whatever it's called, antibodies, and so he was able to catch it in an early stage. But I'm not sure about with the pill.
Wow, that is a really good question from the Kiohana. Answer is not known. They have not done that study or trial. Plain and simple. It's a good question. Here's the way I take a look at it. Right? Is it going to hurt? Right? Does there do no harm? I saw a question. I think Janelle had this. Janelle had this was, will this ever end? And the answer I do want to say to everyone is yes. As confident as I've said to everybody, don't rush this, don't push this. This will, right? And oh God, I don't know which piece I said this on. You know what really just ticks me off is all of this return to normal, normal. Everybody gets back. That is what's causing loss of life. Like when I go through my international time and you look at the details and look at what's going on across Europe, that's one of the things that has been highlighted to create the challenges that are happening and spreading through Europe. They had the little summer lull, and then all of a sudden they take all the mask restrictions off and they say, oh, go back to normal. Well, you know how hard it is in human nature after you've been going through this COVID fatigue, as we call it, and then someone says it's normal, to then say, oh, sorry, go back. You don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be promising normal. There is no normal. We are still in a pandemic. We still have half the world that's not been vaccinated. But you know what? We will get there. And we're going to get there by having the amazing science that we have. And I think ultimately having the world coming together, which it's going to start coming together a little bit more because it has to really get the rest of the world vaccinated, because plain and simple, just to jump way to the end of the answer for you, Janelle, when the world gets fully vaccinated, we're going to be closer to the end. We are not even, remember, half the world has not even smelled to know what a vaccine looks. Think about some of these areas in the world and how remote they are, or how there's no communication, or they're strifed with unrest or corruption. I mean, it is going to be so hard to get to those areas, but you know what? We have to find a way. We have to get there. So when we get there, then that's going to be your answer. We will get there. Now, in the meantime, how do we get there? What's your responsibility, Janelle? My responsibility, Charlie, Mel, and everybody listening, is stand the ground, mitigation, masks indoors, protect your elderly, watch your ventilation. The answer, and get your boosters and get your shots. Now, if you do get positive, this is the other thing that's going to make us get closer to normal. Look what we just talked about. We talked about the monoclonals. They work great and they're safe. So then the next thing we talked about, boom, Pfizer, Merck, you get a pill. So now let's jump to next year. We're sitting here and we're, you know, yeah, Mel and Charlie are famous. It's, I think it's going to, they're going to be award winning and all kind of stuff. But, but the bottom line is we're going to be talking about massive decrease in mortality. The chances that we're going to see double digit deaths are going to be, just as long as there's no true variant or mutation that's crazy, is going to be just totally unlikely. So the chances that we're going to be worrying about the surges in our hospital really, really will be down, because we're going to be armed with so much in the way of treatment to stop these immediately, and then we'll have it diffusely out in the medical community so that everything doesn't have to happen in a tent on the grounds of a hospital. And that's something that also kind of bugs me, is that there's been so little attempt to really make treatment diffusely available and get the medical communities involved. So, it's going to be where you'll get a test, you can go to your doctor's office and get an accurate COVID test. Oh, that's not the flu or a cold, you've got COVID. Now you go, quarantine a while, and here's a shot. We'll give you your shots right here, and here's your prescription. And maybe it'll be 7 days, right? Maybe it's not going to be 10 days. It's not, 1 to 14 to 10. It'll probably be 7 days with the pills, and you're going to be fine. So we'll get there. But the biggest thing I want to say to everybody is, don't use the word normal, okay? Right now, we're living through a pandemic, and do your part and do everything you can. Get your shots, and keep your family safe, and just keep an eye on what's going on, and just try to maintain the community. It's about community. It's about helping each other. Do your part as a community. So.
Well, Doc, thank you very much again. Boy, the time flies when you're on, and we got tons of questions, guys. Apologize, we cannot get to them all. Some of them are political questions that we're not going to ask on the show. We really want to ask the questions that benefit the general viewership of the show. So I apologize. We just don't have enough time to go through everyone. But I appreciate your time, Doc. I know you're a busy guy and just tied up all over the place. So we definitely appreciate, our viewers appreciate you on. Charles.
Well, thank you very much, Doc. I think a lot of this whole thing maybe could have been summed up with government just being straightforward right from the get go, not putting out conflicting messages. And then when finally you got all these vaccines about, what they should have done is color code everything to make it more simpler for people to understand. But when it's almost like an auto dealership. When you got a Lincoln, when you got a Kia, when you got this, you got that, and you put them on a lot, you give plenty of people choices, right? So they get confused. But when you're dealing with a pandemic, you got to be straightforward, and you got to be right down the middle and just tell them like it is.
That's
But I
right.
think, everything to me, I think the government has been sugarcoating things from day one, which makes things so difficult. And then it has to take someone like you to come along and simplify it for most of us. And so, uh, that's kind of why I ask the absurd questions that I do, because I'm just thinking, if you got one of these things that go in your nose and because of the spike it adheres, then what can it withstand 150 mile an hour wind? Because if it can, then I say put a vacuum clean up your nose and suck that bastard out. That's the way I look at things. But I'm pretty sure there's other scientific ways to talk about that. But nevertheless, You're a great guest, and I always appreciate you coming on, Doc. So thank you very much, Mel.
Right on. Thanks again, Charlie. Thanks, Doc. To our viewers, thank you for always tuning in. The village guys, we got the village. And listen, I know there's a lot of differing opinions out there, and a lot of people think differently. But let me just say, I agree with the Doc in that there will be an end to this at some point. I know one of our friends said, as long as the vaccines diminish in strength, and even though people getting shots will never get over it. Well, I think at face value that may sound correct, and it's probably somewhat true, but the fact is it's going to have to be all of us together vaccinating the world and staying up to date on our boosters. See, we're gonna have to live with COVID like we live with the flu and everything else, but we make the choice whether or not we want to risk serious illness or death, or we want to do what we need to do to stay safe and keep our ohana safe. And that's all. It's up to us. I don't give a damn what the executive orders or the laws say. We don't, I keep saying we don't need a governor's order to tell us to wear a mask or not wear a mask. You do what you want, knowing that if you don't wear a mask, you put yourself and others at risk. It's that simple. So I'm kind of nervous about what's happening in the state with the releasing or reducing the restrictions, allowing more gatherings, more maskless gatherings, more alcohol serving events. I am getting a little concerned, but we as individuals can make the choice not to go participate in that to be safe. So it's up to all of us. So with that, guys, tomorrow's Veterans Day again. Uh, we'll put up a short tribute video tomorrow night for those that want to watch. If not, enjoy your day off. Enjoy your week, your Veterans Day with your family. And tonight, before you put your head down, pray for everyone. But tonight, let's make a very special prayer for our veterans out there, those that are here and those that have made
Amen.
all the sacrifice. All right, guys, take care. God bless. Stay safe. We love you guys.
Thanks.
Aloha.
See you guys.